VonAllen Sports.
Here we go. Post-show Mental MMA on VonAllen Sports. UFC 268 is in the books. What do you guys think about the show?
At least we got a great pay-per-view for our first show.
Yeah, we did. Man, there's some exciting fights in there. How about that first fight? How exciting was that?
The Chandler Gaethje fight, that was just a bore fest, just like Aaron said it was
like
going to be. Right, Aaron?
Yeah.
Listen, man. Everything I say, just do the opposite.
Yeah.
Welcome, Nash. Nice to see you here, buddy. Nash is a longtime Patriots fan. Yeah. Can I just start real quick on the Colby fight?
Sure.
From the moment he walked out there, he looked kind of nervous to me. He was kind of like kind of weird. And normally I don't put much stock into stuff like that, but that was kind of weird. But then the first 3 rounds, he just kind of, looks like he was sparring with a punching bag or something that wasn't kind of within his range. It was just really weird. Did you think something was wrong with him? Not wrong physically, but I just mean...
He seemed hesitant. He definitely seemed hesitant. You know, he seemed like just more cautious, you know. And then a few times, then by like the 3rd, 4th round, it seemed like he finally got his confidence and he just wouldn't pull the trigger all the way. Like he just started almost doing it, but then just wouldn't pull the trigger. Like it looked like he could finish it a couple times around the 4th. There was a couple times if he just would have went for it. But then he took him down and it was like, man, Usman was a little bit wobbled, I think, at one point. And I was like, man, why are you holding him down? And he never really got the takedown either.
I think he had an adrenaline dump, is what I think. His adrenaline was up really high, and I think it's what Aaron said. I think it's a little bit of that too. Colby did look a little bit off, a little bit nervous, but hey, that's part of the game. It's part of fighting is being mental, mental MMA. But I just think that the first round and the second round, he was having that adrenaline surge, and it was all came off all at once, and that really takes your cardio away from you. But at the same time, he didn't do his style that got him there. That's what I know it's different. You can't really do that with Usman because Usman's a good wrestler too. But still, it was not about the wrestling. It's not about beating him at wrestling. It's about breaking him down cardiovascular wise, and he didn't do that like he does everyone else. I wish he had, but
it seemed like he was gonna. Like there was one point where he did go for a couple takedowns and doing, like you said, going up and down, but then he never really consistently.
Yeah, he didn't keep it going.
Yeah,
he'd break loose and then he'd start back over again.
Yeah.
Let me welcome a few more people who just came in. We'll get some new people here real quick because once the show starts, the algorithm picks it up. Welcome, Thomas. Jalen is in the house. Odson Mate is back. Big Rose fan, so that went the way we wanted it. Sharon Barnhill, welcome. I just want to say that nobody is beating Usman for a very long time.
No.
I thought I watched most of his fights, like the most relevant recent ones. I don't care what you did 5 fights ago. That means nothing to me. But the last 3 fights is the most important to me. I felt that Usman, this was his worst fight I've seen of his last 4 fights now. And he still couldn't be stopped.
Yeah. He hasn't lost since 2003. I mean, excuse me, 2013. 2013, like 8 years now, right?
Yeah, he ate a bunch of punches, dude. I mean, he ate some massive ones, and it didn't even stop him. It didn't even do anything. But
Kobe's not known as the hardest puncher out there.
Hang on, Jalen. Khabib can't beat Usman because Khabib ran away. Khabib took his ball and went home. Right, Jason?
Just entering his prime, too. That's the thing that's a shame about that whole situation, you know? We didn't get to see what he could really do, you know? Potentially the GOAT, but now not even in the conversation because of where he left.
I agree.
Yeah, but I was happy with the Rose fight. I was so happy she won that. I did at one point. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but man, that was maybe not the most exciting fight, but it was still good just because I really wanted her to win that.
I liked it. Well, the reason it was exciting to me because what was at stake in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that made it more exciting. Yes, I agree.
And plus, I like Rose a lot.
Yeah.
So just for the people who are just now kind of getting online, we're going to give people the results of the main card real quick.
Cool.
Some people may be curious about it, so that way everything we say, people know what we're talking about. The first fight on the main card was Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje in the lightweight 155-pound division. It was a 3-round fight. Very good fight, back and forth. They both went kind of crazy and took care of business. Justin Gaethje won the decision in the end. And the next fight was Shane Burgos and Billy Quarantillo. And that was in the 145-pound division. And that was a decision for Shane Burgos. Good fight as well. That would have been a big fight had Chandler and Gaethje not gone before them. People would be screaming at that fight in a good way. And then after that was Frankie Edgar and Marlon Chito Vera. And Marlon Chito Vera won that one by decision. And next after that was the women's 115-pound strawweight championship, Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili. It was a rematch from when Rose knocked her out real good the last fight. And Zhang Weili somehow got an immediate rematch after only defending the belt one time and being beat decisively in the title fight. So they fought for 5 rounds. Rose won the decision, kept her belt. So that's 2 in a row against Zhang Weili. Hopefully she'll go away for a while or build her way back to the top unless the partly owned Chinese UFC decides to give her a third shot, do-over. Who knows?
Oh, that would be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the headlining fight was Marty Fake Newsman versus Colby Chaos Covington in the Welterweight Championship, and Marty won by 5th round decision. It went the distance for decision.
Yeah. It was close. It was a close main fight, but I would say I think they made the right decision. Colby just didn't turn it up enough.
Yeah, I think it could have been a split decision, but I'm also a believer that to beat the champion, you need to beat him. Obviously, you can't just barely like that. When Frankie took the belt from BJ Penn about 10 years ago, whatever it was, 10, 11 years ago, I didn't think he did enough to take the belt from BJ. I thought BJ should have kept his belt that night, and I think a lot of other people did too. So I think when you beat a champ by decision, you need to make it a unanimous one, not a barely squeaking by one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was with the Rose fight. I knew that I was pretty sure Rose was going to win that. Actually, it was a split decision, right? That was kind of shocking.
Yes, yeah, it was.
But again, because Rose is the champ at that point, you have to beat her, not just squeak by in the rounds. I agree with that. You're right though. The opening fight, man, that was something. That was exciting. The next 2 fights did seem a little I wouldn't say boring, but they definitely didn't have what they would have had if that fight wasn't the first one of the evening. So
yeah, that's right.
That could have been a main fight. That could have been a main fight on other UFCs.
Oh, any other card, it would have been a headliner. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, again, I just thought it was weird that Colby acted so hyped and crazy about this fight. It seemed like he hated Usman and wanted to just destroy him and tear his head off. And then the moment I see him, it's just not there. And honestly, Usman just looked like a total professional in the ring. Like, he just had that whole look about him. And honestly, I have a lot more respect for him after seeing this fight.
He's trained by Trevor Whitman. Of course, everybody knows that's a good camp out there in Denver. But he wasn't always trained there. He used to work with Henry Hooft at Sanford MMA in Florida, and then he went there I think he's been there for this is his 3rd fight being at Elevation. Or it's not Elevation, is it? No. But either way, it's in Denver, and he changed, and so coaches make a difference on people. Colby actually changed at the same time. he used to train American Top Team in Florida, and he moved to Masters MMA, which I'm not convinced is really a good choice, but he couldn't personally stay at American Top Team anymore. But I think there's another place he could have gone that probably would have been better for him.
I mean, do you think it really matters that how important is coaching in UFC really?
It changes your entire career if you go to the right coach. There are people that can go to a new coach and they fit in for some reason. It just works well and it changes their world, even just one fight later. And it happens a lot. You know, you had George St. Pierre, who was trained initially at Jackson Wink in Albuquerque, and then he went to TriStar in Montreal, and his career changed. You know, so it can make a big difference. I mean, where you go to, TJ Dillashaw is a good example of that. He was at Alpha Male in Angels Camp, California, which is near Sacramento, and then he changed to he and Dwayne Ludwig went to Colorado, and he completely became a different fighter, and now he's almost unbeatable.
I'm looking at the welterweight rankings, and I'm trying to think, who does Usman have that could, like, a potential good fight for him?
I think that Leon Edwards is the best competition for him, and I think that if Leon doesn't get hugged on the ground, I think he will beat Usman in a striking match. In fact, he'll probably do it in about the second round or sooner.
And he's fighting.
He's fighting Masvidal
right?
next.
Yeah.
But I think Leon Edwards actually matches up with Usman better than Masvidal. I think Leon Edwards, if he did, he probably won't. But if he did lose to Masvidal, I think he could still beat Usman because it's the matchups.
And who's I'm trying to remember, who's Vincent Luque?
Vicente Luque. Yeah, he's a Brazilian that trains in New York. He's really tough. He's really good too. He's beaten a lot of the top guys. And in fact, the only guy who's beaten him and not in forever is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Other than that, no one's beat him. He's beaten everyone, including Tyron Woodley recently. But yeah, he's a hard fight for anyone.
He's ranked number 4.
Yeah, I think Vicente Luque could beat Usman too.
Okay, so there's a couple of guys up and coming. You think? Yeah,
Usman is definitely not going to knock out Vicente Luque. I know that for sure. He will not knock him out. If he's going to beat him, he's going to have to hug him on the ground for a while.
Okay.
So that's how he's going to beat him.
So they were talking about how they scheduled the fights in the main card, and the Gaethje fight was, and the Gaethje Chandler fight was at the very beginning, and there was some coach issues. Mm-hmm. Whose coach exactly was involved in that, where they had to switch it around? Do you guys know?
The reason why they did that is because Trevor Whitman is the head coach for Usman, and he's the head coach for Rose, and he's the head coach for Justin Gaethje. So he couldn't coach 3 fights back to back to back, so they had to separate them. That's why they did that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know whose coaches were which and like exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Jalen says won't happen. Jake Paul beats Usman boxing. Huh? Were you talking to me, Jalen? I don't know what that means. Odson Mate says Edwards went to the end with a washed Nate Diaz. No way Edwards has a shot at beating Usman.
Who said that?
Odson Mate.
Well, if Usman does his wrestling like he did before the last 2 or 3 fights, he probably could beat Leon pretty good because Leon's not the best grappler out there. So, but what I said before was if it's a striking fight, Leon will beat him in a striking fight, 100%. If Usman fights Leon Edwards like he fought Colby, Leon will beat him. VonAllen Sports.
I don't know how you guys feel, but the commentating was really weird tonight. They seem to overreact. Now, how long? You know how after they have the reactions, they show this camera and they show everybody's faces like freaking out? How long have they been doing that? How long have they been showing that replay of the face reaction?
Last 2 or 3 years now, that,
Couple
like you
years,
said, they do it
yeah.
all the time because
Okay.
they know they're going to be on camera.
It used to happen every once in a while. Like it was it's a surprise. Like now they know it's going to happen. So it seems like maybe they're overdoing it. You think?
It's like I didn't even know they were doing that until recently. I didn't really pick up on it, but now I've noticed it heavily that they're almost wanting a moment like that. They're like acting like they've never watched a UFC fight before.
Well, some of the stuff they say, especially DC, like DC has some good commentary, but then he says things. They're very biased tonight. Actually, I've noticed that more in the last few months of fights. They're like Covington would land a really good combo, and they would they wouldn't say anything, and Usman would get one little punch in there. Oh, he's hurt. Colby's hurt. It's like he wasn't even wobbled. They did that several times tonight. And they've been doing that more recently. It's DC. I think he's the one who really does that most often. I know he's your favorite. I know he's your favorite, Aaron, but
yeah, he's been called out for that by a lot of fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Cormier is my favorite fighter.
Favorite of all time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love him. I love everything about him. I think he's brilliant. He's brilliant on the microphone. He's brilliant in fighting and in the ring. He's the GOAT.
You do like the face he made when he lost to Jones.
Which time?
The second time he was crying.
I know.
Very good.
I know. I just wanted to bring up that it was twice.
Yeah.
I know.
It was more ridiculous the second, the way he reacted.
He was sobbing like a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing.
Yeah. With one thing you're overcome with joy, or somebody passed away, you're telling a story and you break down a little bit. Okay, that's fine, but you don't cry in the ring because you lost a fight. Come on.
So we have a comment from Odd Son MB. It says Edwards went to the end with a wash Nate Diaz. No way Edwards has a shot at beating Usman.
Right.
That right there is called MMA math, and MMA math does not work. Otherwise, Stephen Thompson would have beat Tyron Woodley for the title twice in a row when they fought. However, he didn't. But Tyron Woodley lost to Vicente Luque. But Vicente Luque lost to Wonder Boy. So does that mean Wonder Boy, since he beat Vicente Luque and Luque beat Tyron Woodley, that Wonder Boy can beat Woodley? No, they fought twice and he could not beat him.
The matchups,
matchups are what matters.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
This Nate Diaz comparison, Nate Diaz is one of the strangest fighters out there because he's not predictable on who he can beat and who he'll lose to. Nate Diaz is strange because he can go out there and dominate someone like Michael Johnson and embarrass him and make him look bad and slap him around, literally slap him around the octagon. And then Michael Johnson can beat someone that Nate Diaz would lose to. You just can't go with that. The whole thing about Leon Edwards and the Nate Diaz fight is that Leon Edwards wasn't taking that fight seriously because Nate thought exactly like your comment says, is that they think he's washed up and he's, brain battered and everything else. But Leon came into that fight being stupid, being clumsy, and not really taking him seriously. And when Nate got that one shot at the end, that was because Leon was being reckless because he knew he had it in the bag. He knew he had a decision, and he wasn't serious. If it was something serious, he wouldn't have acted like that. It wouldn't have happened. Same thing with all kinds of other fights. I mean, when Nate Diaz fought Conor McGregor the first time, Conor McGregor was an enigma in the UFC because no one could beat him. No one could figure him out. The only person that could even went to a decision with them was Max Holloway, and other than that, McGregor was beating everybody. Remember, Eddie Alvarez knocked out Justin Gaethje. Okay, Conor McGregor, who's a featherweight originally, knocked out Eddie Alvarez so bad he put him on his butt 3 or 4 times. So now, can Conor McGregor beat Justin Gaethje? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work out. That math does not work. It's all about matchups. Leon Edwards fighting Usman will be a different fight than Leon Edwards fighting Nate Diaz. It will be a completely different fight. Now, I'm not saying he will beat Usman completely because there's a lot of different variables to fighting MMA, but I'm saying if it's a stand-up fight like Usman did tonight, Leon Edwards wins that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But if Usman does what got him here, all of his career, except for the last 3 fights or so, if he does what he did before, which really all he did before was just kind of hug guys on the ground and control them, then yeah, he could win that fight that way. But Leon's winning a stand-up fight with Usman.
Yeah, the NFL is very similar where one team can beat Team X, but Team X plays Team Y and beats Team Y, but Team Y goes and beats the original team that beat the other guy, but they lost to the second team. It's like a circle.
And that really says volumes for who the GOAT is. People like John Jones, Anderson Silva, and I guess Usman potentially, if he keeps going in the direction he is. It doesn't matter who they're fighting.
Yep.
It just doesn't matter. They'll take it all and they'll just win. Where other guys can't do that. They has to be more specific type of fighter. So, and that to me, those are the greatest fighters. When it just doesn't matter. They'll fight anybody.
Yeah. That. I know this might be a little off topic from the fights we just watched, but when someone says someone's the GOAT, right? Someone's greatest of all time. We have this debate in football and every sport now. That's like all anyone talks about. But when it comes to fighting, the greatest of all time or the best has got to be the guy who nobody could beat. It can't be some, lower weight person. I mean, no one's defeated John Jones, okay? No one's defeated Khabib, correct? But could Khabib defeat John Jones? No, he can't, obviously. I mean, that's just weird.
Right.
But that's the point. So who is the baddest man on the planet? Who is the greatest fighter on the planet? It's got to be someone like that.
Yeah.
I've always been confused about calling these,
Pound for pound.
pound for pound,
yeah.
whatever the fuck. Sorry, pound for pound. That's just like a way for them to get the smaller guys in. What do y'all think?
Well, I think it doesn't translate. You got to look at it. Okay, Mighty Mouse, pound for pound. Well, so the whole theory is if they were bigger. So if Mighty Mouse was as big as Brock Lesnar, he could beat him because he's the pound. He's so fast, but he wouldn't be that fast if he was an extra 100 pounds.
Exactly.
Bigger. So you can't. The math doesn't work if you think about it. Or Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Brock Lesnar would be 5 times as fast if he was that tiny, but he wouldn't have the strength. So it doesn't add up. You can't really. It doesn't exist.
Yep. What do you think, Jason?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be in the pound for pound list, you need to be fighting and be a champion in a couple of divisions at the same time.
Yeah.
That's at least a little more, But like I said, the pound for pound thing is a way to get the smaller weight classes involved. Otherwise, you got to go with, the bigger weight classes because obviously if they're skilled, then they're going to beat say smaller guys. I'm not saying that just because they're bigger, they're going to win. But at this level, when you're at the highest level, the bigger guy is going to beat the smaller guy when they're both at a high level, usually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'll have guys like in middleweight who can go up to light heavyweight and still, win, but they're also gaining weight to go up there as well. So,
man, I can't wait to see what happens if Jones actually gets a fight in a heavyweight, hopefully soon. That's going to be interesting because he dominated light heavyweight for so long. I'm interested to see if it translates with the extra weight and extra power, if he loses anything going up to that weight. And for him, it's not so far off because he's such a tall and big guy that going to heavyweight is almost probably more his natural weight to be at. So,
well, he's still, even at heavyweight, he still has the longest reach in the division.
Yep. Oh, even
84.
at heavyweight. Wow. Yeah.
Even at heavyweight. Yeah.
Welcome, Speedy 1287. He says, I'm not going to lie. I had Covington winning the last 3 rounds. It was a good close fight, though, so not mad.
It was, man, those 3 rounds. I still don't know how one judge gave it 4-1, 4 rounds to 1. That's pretty crazy to me.
I don't ever think that they're going to give it to the challenger. They're just not going when it's that close.
That close, yeah.
It's just not. You've got to beat. Normally, most cases. I know there's rare cases, but normally you've got to beat the champion outright.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how it should be.
Yeah.
But Colby definitely didn't outright win.
Right.
I could hear arguments for either side.
Either way, yeah.
So
you think that might have been judged different if it wasn't a title fight? Do you think that actually happens a lot?
I would have given it to Usman, honestly, if I was judging.
Because he didn't take the belt.
I was going for Colby.
Right. He didn't take the belt from him. Yeah, it wasn't clear cut, right? That makes sense.
And Jason, you got a response from Odson Mate. He says, I just think saying Edwards would win in a stand-up fight is also assuming Usman would play into his strength and not just dominate the entire fight on the ground like he's famously done before.
Yep, that's what I said. When I was talking earlier, I said if Usman doesn't wrestle him and hug him on the ground. That's what I said. I said in a stand-up fight, Leon wins. So he's basically saying the same thing I just said.
But he's got to first win the rematch. He's got to win the rematch with Jorge Masvidal. Jorge beat him up backstage one time.
The one unofficial fight to the official.
He's got to get past that first. So we'll see.
Roman actually said that earlier.
Yeah.
He said it as a matter of fact to me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I was like, what the hell was all that about? Because they showed the replay of Masvidal punching him backstage. And
the three-piece in Minnesota.
Masvidal's already got one fight on him.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Then we got Jalen, who said the problem is in fighting, number one stays undefeated. Typically in MMA and boxing, they don't. Or I don't think Floyd is the GOAT. I'm not sure what he's saying here. But then he says, I think George St. Pierre and Khabib have been the most impressive champions with what they've accomplished. Jalen, my problem with Khabib is that compared to all the other greats, all the other guys who were considered one of the greatest of all time, right? He's got the least impressive resume as far as I'm concerned.
Not to mention he won the belt illegitimately.
And won the belt, against Iaquinta, who was on a prelim. Although that's not really relevant, I guess, to the argument. But it's still weird how so quickly this guy's already on the undercard. And
but only 3 title defenses. That's
3 title defenses is a problem.
That's the main. That's
a problem for me.
You can't compare that. It's not even in the ballpark of Jones or St. Pierre, or
these are the people just in the UFC alone, not in any other promotions. This is just in the UFC recently who have more title defenses than Khabib.
Yeah.
You have Amanda Nunez.
Yep.
You have Joanna. You have Valentina Shevchenko, Mighty Mouse, GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones. I think Stipe Miocic has at least 3.
But in heavyweight that should count as 7.
Yeah, I know. So that's 8 people just off the top of my head in the UFC alone who has 3 title defenses. In fact, I think Chris Weidman might have 3 of them as well. And I can go on. There's a lot of other people that have 3 title defenses or more. And and Khabib, the reason why people are talking about Khabib as GOAT is because of his record of 29-0.
Undefeated.
Let's talk once again. Let's go back to the resume. How many scrubs are on that? How padded is his resume? You also have people that have, that could be 40-1 and 31 of their fights are on some local independent circuit where nobody even trains, just a bunch of drunk guys jumping into a cage on the weekends. And I know it's not exactly the same thing, but Khabib's resume, out of all the people I mentioned, is more padded than anyone else's.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, look at John Jones. If he would have stopped after he did 3 title defenses, he would have been undefeated too, right? Well, he is undefeated. Yep. But if you even want to count that ridiculous loss, and before all that weird stuff with him happened, and all getting cuffed for the picogram, whatever it was, all that stuff. If he would have quit back then, he would have been undefeated, and he would have had like a perfect record. So would he have been better if he quit 5 years ago, not fighting another 10 title fights or however many? So it's ridiculous when you use that against other fighters that kept going, even if they had a couple losses, but they were undefeated at that point,
Well, again, and that's one of my problems with Khabib too. Another problem with Khabib is that when you go out and you've got so much left, I'm like, damn, dude. I mean, defend that belt more. Like, really show what you've got. And
so Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier have beaten more top-ranked fighters and beaten more top-ranked fighters in the UFC than Khabib.
Tony Ferguson and who?
Dustin Poirier.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. How cool was it seeing Glover win last week? That was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Huh? Yeah.
You like Glover, Jason?
Yeah, that was good to see. He's a good guy. I like him. He's a good fighter too. He had that slide for a while, but yeah, I think this is his time. And I hate to say it, but the only reason why he's champion is because John wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
we
can say that about anything. You can say it about well, if this person was still fighting, but
Sure.
you could say if Chuck Liddell was in his prime, in 2012 when John was only 24 years old, would he have beat Chuck Liddell? We don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that Chuck is actually a great wrestler too, and he's hard to take down. Have you noticed no one ever tries to take him down? When they do, he pops right back up.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Chuck Liddell on his back before? Ever against anyone?
I don't think so, huh?
It's tough.
Yeah.
Not to say John couldn't do it. I'm just saying if John was young and Chuck was in his prime,
I see
Chuck could have taken advantage of John's inexperience.
Yep.
And he would have taken his belt from him,
Yeah.
No, I've never seen Chuck on his back before, and that's why DC doesn't like him.
Yeah.
So, boom, boom. I gotta get one of those. Thank you. I'm here all night. Oh, okay. I get you, Jalen. I understand what you were saying now. It just didn't read correctly. Wasn't sure what you were talking about.
So did we see Usman and Colby talking nicely right after the bout, huh?
Yeah, I thought they were going to make out.
What the referee say? You guys can kiss later. I think he said that was pretty funny, huh?
Did you guys hear what they were saying?
No, I couldn't make it out.
Speedy 1287 says it kind of bugs me how people don't give Colby credit because of his shtick.
Yeah,
He's the second best welterweight on the planet.
Yeah,
I love Colby, man. I think he's awesome, but I just did not like. I don't know what I'm wanting to say about this. Is it lack? It's not lack of effort. It just seemed like hesitation.
a little too cautious.
Something was weird, and I don't like that.
He didn't change his game plan from the first fight.
Right.
He did slightly, just a little bit, but not much, not enough to change the fight. Someone mentioned, they said if you say Ali, you have to include Marciano in boxing. I agree completely. Marciano was awesome.
49-0.
He was basic. Yeah, I agree.
No, I was just adding to that.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen if they would have actually fought, but hey. Yeah, I agree with the Speedy 1287. It kind of bugs me how people don't give Colby credit because of his.
But they were doing it. They were doing it tonight. I said that DC and then they were making out everything Usman did to be the greatest. And anytime Colby landed something, they weren't giving much credit for it.
The commentators.
Anyone in the division not named Usman is going to lose to Colby.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's because Colby will go back to his game plan of going up and down, high and low, high and low, high and low, which is how he beats everyone. But he just, in both fights with Usman, he didn't do that. Usman's a wrestler too, and that's part of the things. But this, to me, wasn't about wrestling. It was about wearing him out and then mentally beating him. That's how Colby beats people, is through that way. Even though he may not have been able to take Usman down, it was worth doing the work because Colby has great enough cardio to do something like that. But he still wasn't doing it. But we're not in there. We're armchair watchers. We can't say, oh, we would have done. We can't say, just blitz him and go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can say that all we want to. But Colby, the way he fights, he's done it with the best in the world. He's done it with some of the best strikers like RDA and Lawler, where they are dangerous when you come in at them like that. And Colby did it to them, and it worked great. And Robbie's a better striker than Usman. So, and actually, a lot of times RDA is too. He's really good as well. But I don't know. I just think we would like to have seen what would have happened if Colby would have done his original style in this fight. I would just like to see what would have happened.
Yeah.
I wonder how many fights do you? Oh, so go ahead.
I still think Usman would have been as fresh as he was in the 4th and 5th rounds if Colby had fought his usual style.
How many fights do you think Colby has to win again to get back to the championship contention?
He'll probably have to beat two of the top 5 guys, 2 of the top 4 guys to do it.
Assuming
So
that
perhaps,
Usman
yeah.
keeps the title. If Usman happens to lose it, then he could potentially get a fight with one of those guys. But to get a third fight, you got to earn it, you know?
Yeah, Usman's
Yeah.
not losing it.
I don't think Usman is either.
I'm just not sure Vicente Luque is not a good matchup for Usman. Vicente's got a ground game, a strong ground game. He can submit, but he's also on the feet. He's like a caveman, dude. You can't. He's like, there's something about him. You just can't really hurt him. And he got heavy hands. His hands are like clubs. When he hits people, they get hurt, like injured. I'm talking like broken orbitals, broken noses, things like that. He injures people with his hands easily. And I don't know. I'm not sure what would happen in that, but I just don't know if I know that's not a gimme. I know that for sure. And I think if Leon can stop from being hugged on the ground, I think he definitely can beat Usman in a stand-up fight. You know, that's what Leon does. So,
Yeah.
Leon's a striker.
Who's up next, do you think, to fight Usman?
Probably the winner between Usman and Masvidal and Edwards, or they could possibly do Vicente Luque fight, but I'm not sure if that'll happen. I think they'll probably want a rematch with Masvidal if he wins, just for the dollars.
Didn't Mossman already had 2 chances though? You really think they would give him a shot next?
Well, he only had 1 chance at Usman.
Did he fight him twice? No.
No, 1
It
time.
was once. Okay.
Yeah,
That mixed up.
but they don't care about that. UFC does not have integrity when it comes to title shots. They'll give them to whoever can sell the most tickets.
Yeah.
That's why Conor got to cherry pick Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
also why GSP.
Go ahead.
That's also why GSP got to cherry pick Bisping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That he definitely did.
GSP would not have come back for any other middleweight champion. He would not have come back for Rockhold. He would not have come back for Weidman. He would not have come back for Machida. He would not have come back for
And if Anderson
Silva
was still going, yeah.
Well, they tried to make the Silva fight a million times back in the day. He wouldn't go for it. He would not do it for anyone. But when Bisping got the belt, he saw an opportunity. He goes, "Oh, this style matches up with me. I'll fight Bisping and become a double champ. Then I'll run away." That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Because he would have had to defend it against those monsters like Yoel Romero and people like that.
Well, our next show is on December 11th. That's UFC 269, Oliveira versus Portier. That's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Portier, I liked him. I'm telling you, I liked him a lot up until his display after that Conor fight. I just think it was uncalled for, acting like he destroyed Conor when Conor actually hurt himself. Yeah, he won fair and square, but I don't know.
Did you know there was footage that Conor posted like a month before or a couple weeks before that of his leg actually in a cast, where he was having to limit his fight because his leg was already shot. I think those bones were messed up. They weren't broken, but I think he probably had some splints or something or microfractures.
Maybe.
But yeah, but you know when people lose to injuries like that, I still consider that fair and square. I don't think that was a fluke or an accident or whatever. You know, actually Dustin did beat him in the fight before that as well. So
yeah.
You know,
it's just, I don't know. They were just talking like, you know, like he destroyed Conor, like, you know, and he would get a fair and square, he won, but you know, it wasn't something to brag about when a guy hurts his, you know, when Anderson Silva broke his leg, Chris Weidman didn't act like he destroyed him in that fight. It's just some freak accident, you know, and I just didn't like the way he acted afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the Weidman fight was not a freak accident. Weidman checked that leg and knew what he was doing. I mean, you watch it slow motion. They practice that. They drill that stuff. You throw your knee up and then you hurt their leg, but the knee check. And
did that happen to Weidman against Uriah Hall? Did he check that as well?
It kind of, but it was more about the kick itself where it landed at. Uriah Hall, he did turn his knee out. See, Weidman, when he checked Anderson Silva, he actually lifted his knee to check it. When Hall checked Weidman's kick, it was pretty fast. So, but Hall kind of just turned his leg out a little bit. He didn't lift it; he just kind of turned it. And I think he turned it more not to check the kick intentionally to injure. He turned it to protect his leg, which became, you know, the connection that broke Weidman's leg. But when Weidman checked Anderson Silva, the intent of that was to make his shin connect with his knee to cause damage.
Okay, got ya.
If you want to see the worst of those leg breaks, actually Corey Hill was worse than all of those guys. Probably not as bad. It was probably about the same as Weidman's, but it was pretty bad. If you look at Corey Hill, he actually died after that.
Jason, can you see the comment section?
No, I was looking on my phone a second ago at it.
Okay. Well, I just want to say welcome, actually, Mike Tyson, to the chat, and he had a few comments.
Oh yeah, here we go. Masvidal, actually, Mike Tyson says Masvidal took the first fight on a 6-day notice, went the distance. Usman, per stomping on his feet and clenching, won by decision. And second fight, Masvidal got knocked out. You're exactly right. They did fight to a decision the first time, because I remember that. You're so right. I told Roman I fought once. You're right.
Yeah,
you guys are right. I remember that fight. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Because
that's why I was thinking. I don't know if they're going to give him a third shot.
Masvidal got mad because he said he beat me playing footsies. I remember that when he was saying that back then. Yeah, good call. Thanks for reminding me of that. I thought it was on. Okay. And exactly right, because the second fight when he got knocked out, I thought he was undeserving of that. I thought he shouldn't have gotten that fight to begin with.
Right.
Nefertiti says, guys, if you are new here, okay. Speedy 1287 says Masvidal is a good fighter, but he is overhyped, in my opinion. I agree 100%. If it wasn't for those knockouts of Darren Till and Ben Askren, he would not have been so hyped, and he wouldn't be being pushed like he is right now. I think him growing his hair out and trying to be all like, do this whole kind of Tony Montana persona thing he's got going, and doing the Askren knockout, which is cool, and the Till knockout, which was cool. But if you look at his overall body of work in martial arts, he's got an average record, and he's lost to average fighters. And he's been around a long time. It's not like early in his career, he was like, oh, he was green or whatever. He came into the UFC with more fighting experience than anyone else does. He fought on the streets. So, he fought with Kimbo Slice and those guys. So he'd been around the block already. But yeah, I think that, and of course, he beat up Nate Diaz pretty good. But yeah, if it wasn't for the Askren and the Till knockouts, he would not be the big like hyped guy that he is right now. But hey, it's his career, do what he wants to. But yeah, I think Masvidal is one of those guys that anything can happen. He can lose to anybody at any time, but he could also knock out somebody at any time. He's like a big question mark fighter,
So he's on 269. 269 is gonna be awesome. So you got Charles Oliveira, Dustin Portier is the main. And I have another title fight: Amanda Nunez, Juliana Pena. That should be pretty cool. You got Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal. You got Colby Garbrandt. He hasn't fought in a while, right?
He's actually dropping a weight class for this fight with, I think it's Kai Frank.
I'm not too familiar with him.
He fights with Adesanya and Dan Hooker. He's from out of that camp out in New Zealand, City Kickboxing.
He's ranked number 6, Garbrandt's 7, so they're close, right?
Yeah. See, this is Garbrandt's first fight at that weight class. He's never fought in flyweight before, so but he's been getting beat a lot by all the bantamweights. So he's going to drop down and see what happens down there. But so we'll find out how that goes.
I just want to address any of you guys who are new here. We are just starting MMA section of our channel, and we have a documentary coming out in a few weeks, hopefully, regarding who is the GOAT of MMA, or who's in general. So you guys will like that. So make sure you subscribe, please, and also click like on the video, and that helps the algorithm out. We really, really appreciate it. And if you really like the content here, you can always join our membership. It starts at $2 a month. So I just want to mention something that I saw Speedy mention. He said it was odd to him how Chandler kind of gave up at the end of the third round. He put his hands down and just started walking forward. If he wins that round, he could win the fight. And I thought the exact same thing. I was like, what the hell is he doing? But could that have been a sign of him actually being rocked, just kind of not knowing where he's at? Could that have possibly been the problem? What do you think happened there?
I think that Chandler was just happy to be in the moment, and he didn't care about winning. He just wanted to participate. I don't think he was there to actually win. I think he just wanted to put on a good fight, make his money. I don't know. I agree with what he's saying. I agree. In the third round, I think I mentioned it to you guys when we were watching it. I was like saying, I don't think Chandler even wants to win this fight. I don't think that's what this is about for him.
Because he kept his hands down for a while. He got a good 5-10 punches in the face with his hands down. He kept kept doing it. I didn't understand.
Well, I don't think he had any power left because of his legs were gone, so he
Yeah.
couldn't throw a punch. So that was his way of trying to psych out Justin, probably.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know.
like he's got enough experience that's not going to psych him out at that point. You know,
Yeah.
he's not a new guy. That's not going to change the outcome at that point in the fight. You know, thought it was strange.
Yeah, Jalen, you mentioned boxing. Yeah, we'll definitely cover boxing, and I'm not going to start a new section for that, but boxing would fall under the VonAllen MMA. But we'd only cover like prize fights, like big deal, prize fights, not every single boxing matchup or anything like that. That's just too many to deal with. But we would definitely cover big ones like the one recently between Wilder and the Gypsy King. If we had this going back then, we definitely would have done a pay-per-view, a show for that one. And any ones in the future, we'll definitely keep an eye out for those. Can't do both at the same time, I guess. So if boxing, a big boxing match falls on the same night as the UFC, we're gonna default to the UFC. So.
Yeah, someone, actually Mike Tyson talked about Anderson Silva. Yeah, he had a great run. As far as his boxing match with Tito Ortiz last month or the month before, that was expected in my mind. Tito's not the greatest boxer anyway. He was a ground and pounder. He was a wrestler that would get people down and he'd elbow him in the face and punch him in the face on the ground. And Anderson Silva has always been a big boxing mark anyway. Even when he was in the UFC, when he was fighting in other organizations, he had a boxing style. He had the head movement of a boxer. So that didn't surprise me one bit that he knocked out Ortiz. That's really not that impressive for me. What would be impressive is when he beat Chavez Jr. That was more impressive because Chavez Jr. is a lifetime boxer and with a great record from before. So that impressed me when Anderson Silva beat him. But yeah, as far as MMA goes, man, when he came over to the UFC, remember when he came to the UFC and he started that crazy run, he already had 3 or 4 defeats on record from before. But when he came to UFC and he started demolishing people like Rich Franklin twice in a row, I mean, that first fight with Rich Franklin that he had after he beat Chris Lieben, and he fought Rich, and he, Rich didn't know what to do. When he beat him, that was a scary Anderson Silva.
He didn't know what was coming. They didn't know the intensity of Anderson at that point.
Yeah, and then even the second fight when he did, same thing happened again.
Yeah, his nose
same exact fight.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, Chris Lieben too. He just didn't know what he was up against in that. He didn't know it. Well, nobody knew what Anderson Silva was going to be at that point. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now Travis Lutter came the closest to beating him. Chael Sonnen came close too in the first fight. He was a few seconds away till he got caught in that triangle, but Travis Lutter was actually beating Anderson until he got caught as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Anderson was many times the first round he would go in slow, and I think that was part of his style, though. That happened many times. He would feel out the fight on the first round before he really turned it on. He did that many times,
we have a new member. Welcome, Angel Iliev, who just joined Cavalry Diplomat Priest, and we'll contact you. Let us know what position in our empire would you like to be, a cavalryman, a diplomat, or a priest. It's up to you. So thank you, Angel, for joining the empire, and welcome.
Nice.
So we got a few here. He says, Mike Tyson says, I'm hearing Silva is going to fight the winner of Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. I think Silva can beat possibly. I think he can beat Jake Paul. Tommy Fury, Tommy Fury's. I think he can beat him too. And then someone says, Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. You going to cover that or no chance? I don't know. Would we cover Jake Paul and Tommy Fury? I'm not that interested in that fight. I don't know about you guys.
If we get enough requests.
Yeah, if we get enough requests, I guess.
Okay, so if I'm feeling like people are asking about it and people are wanting it and stuff, then yeah, we can cover it. So.
Yeah, so we got that going on. Yeah, I think Anderson Silva can beat Jake Paul, and even though he is in his 40s, I think he'll still beat him. And
I hope so.
Man, I hope so.
yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I mean that last fight was Tyron Woodley, right? Against Jake Paul, right? That was his last one, and that was a close fight.
So Odson Made is saying that almost every comment on post of the Rose versus Zhang said Zhang was robbed and won rounds 1 through 3. No. What do you mean robbed? Listen, to say someone was robbed, that means someone had to really dominate that fight. There was nothing of the kind. Okay.
you could say it was a possible, discrepancy in judging, or a decision wasn't good, but you can't say robbery. That's
Let me
a
guess.
thing altogether.
I haven't heard anything yet. Okay, but I just know how a lot of fans are. I bet you money Dana White said something like that, and they're just parroting whatever Dana said. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet Dana probably said something like that?
Well, as we were watching the fight, I had it 2-2 going into the 5th, and then obviously Rose just took that 5th round. So, to me, everything's normal as it would have been. But as I was watching the fight, I remember, in my opinion, it was 2-2 going into the 5th, and of course we know what happened in the 5th round, and that's what did it.
The judging seemed appropriate, right?
Yeah, you can't call it a robbery. You can say you didn't like the decision, or you don't agree with it. Or you could say that it might have been off, but a robbery is when it's obviously like something major.
Yeah, which does happen, but no, not tonight. None of these. Yeah.
Exactly, Russell Curry. He says, nope, you got to take that belt from Rose. You've got to take it from the champion. And just like tonight, I wanted Colby to win, but he did not do enough to even sniff the belt from Usman tonight. It just wasn't enough. And
I agree as well. To just like Ric Flair says, to beat the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah,
or to beat
and
the
we were
girl,
all
you gotta
going
beat
for
the girl.
Colby, so you're not talking from a biased standpoint,
Yeah, exactly. I feel that for Wiley to beat Rose, she would have had to make it obvious that she beat her to take that belt away from her. And even though I was going for Colby, if he would have won, then he should have made it look more obvious that he deserved to win.
Yeah.
So.
And what makes Rose so awesome is she's beat a guy 2 times in a row now. And I think that's awesome for women's fighting. We have a super chat. The first super chat in VonAllen MMA history. Angel Iliev sends a $10 super chat. Says, Rose was awesome. Put a hand clap.
Actually, Rose was awesome, hand clap, and I'm going to agree with you. I think she's awesome. In fact, if you look at the way she can, the thing about Rose is she started out submitting people. She has really, really good jiu-jitsu, and she started submitting people, and then she started striking better, and now she has a complete game where she can do everything. And at first, she was kind of like flimsy, kind of thin, kind of not very strong, and now she's got power. She's the only person to knock out Joanna. I mean, when Zhang Weili fought Joanna and made her look like one of the Klingons or something, she still could knock Joanna out. Rose knocked her straight out and made her tap the punches. She beat her twice in a row. So Rose has beaten Joanna twice. She's beaten Weili twice. She got her revenge on Jessica Andrade, where she was winning both. The first fight, even when she lost, she was winning until she just wouldn't let go. She got dumped on her head because she wouldn't let go. That was just in my mind, just like a slip of the mind is all that was. Otherwise, she would have won that fight as well. But Rose has shown she is the dominant 115-pounder in the world, and she has made it obvious that she's the best. I agree with you, Angel.
Who's up next for her? I don't know who's going to be up next.
I agree with you, Angel. That was a really good super chat, Angel. I agree completely.
Yeah. Who's up next for Rose, you think? Carla Esparza is ranked number 2.
Yeah, Carla Esparza will actually probably get the next shot. And, Carla Esparza is actually the first ever strawweight champion in UFC. She won coming off the Ultimate Fighter.
Right? Yeah.
But then she ran into Joanna next and got her face smashed and bloodied up. And that's when Joanna took over. But Carla is way better than she was back then. Now, here's the thing about Carla. Carla is a wrestler, a real wrestler through and through, like amateur wrestler. So it's going to be interesting to see how she beats Rose, because she's not beating Rose standing up. Everybody knows that. She's a good wrestler, but Rose has great submissions. I see Rose winning that fight pretty good, even though Carla has a few tools. But yeah, I think she's up next, but I don't think it's going to do any good. I think it'll be futile.
Yeah, there's her. Then there's Marina Rodriguez is ranked third, so it'll be another.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the reason why I think Carla is going to, even though she's fourth, I think the reason why she'll get the shot next because of all the wins. She's racked up, 5 in a row now? Something like that?
No, she's second. Yeah, she's ranked second. So I
she's
agree.
second?
Probably,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, she probably will be.
Yeah, Carla will be the next in line for Rose. Absolutely.
Cool.
We got, actually, Mike Tyson says, if you guys can get $100 in this man's super chat, I will send him $500 in the super chat.
Damn. You know what? That name, actually Mike Tyson. I got a question for actually Mike Tyson. You're a fan. What would happen if Mike Tyson fought in a boxing match, fought Anderson Silva? Now, we watched. Now we know what would happen if Mike Tyson was in his prime. It wouldn't be a contest. I mean, right now, after watching Mike Tyson fight Roy Jones Jr., we obviously know he's older and he quit for a long time. He's not exactly the same guy.
But that fight, they agreed not to really punch each other in the face too much, I think, right? That they didn't go for it.
Yeah, they didn't go, but it would be competitive, though.
Yeah. I'm just saying the Roy Jones, like that fight was more of an exhibition where I think they agreed to not knock each other out. It was kind of a weird one.
Yeah, Speed 1287. He's a hell of a fighter, man. But matchups are matchups. That's how it goes. I guess I was going for Colby, but
I would like to answer the Mike Tyson question.
Okay.
Mike wins that outright.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched Mike in the exhibition. I know that was an exhibition, like you said, but this guy is not just a boxer, but he's one of the greatest
he's
ever
Mike
lived.
Tyson, man. He's going to be, even at his age.
He's going to know all the little tricks, all the little secrets, just the little things that someone who's not boxed their whole life, even though it's Anderson Silva, those things you overlook, you miss, and he knows them, and he still can knock somebody out. Okay, and Mike Tyson's not that old. Okay, he's not like crazy old or anything. I mean, he still could lay a punch on people. But that, I would love to see that.
That would be cool.
Not an exhibition as far as like, an agreement to. Yeah. I know it wouldn't be like a championship bout or whatever, nothing like that, obviously.
But a real fight.
But a real fight though, where they're like really trying to do something. So
here's a few things I want to address real quick. SM down H9. Some down 9. I don't know how to figure that out. But
it's
anyway.
Jalen.
Okay. He says, what about Nunez versus Rose? MMA fighters go up and down in weight all the time. That is true. However, they're a long ways apart.
They are.
Rose fights in the 115-pound division comfortably. She doesn't even have to cut much weight. She comfortably fights at 115. Amanda has a hard time making 135. She has to try hard to make 135. She's naturally in the 145 is where she really should be all the time. That's 2 or 3 weight classes difference. There's no chance of that ever happening. If it did, it'd be too much. The only person who can do that is Valentina. She's an undersized. She's naturally 125. She's an undersized 135er, but she is the only person that could go up and fight Amanda. In fact, they fought twice, and they were both close decisions. And even the second one, most people believe that Valentina actually beat Amanda in the second fight, up a weight class, being undersized, and when Amanda's at the top of her game. So that just shows how good Valentina is. But yeah, we won't ever see Rose and Amanda meet at any point ever.
No.
That will never, ever happen. And actually, Mike Tyson, we might be talking to the real Mike Tyson, guys. He says, I would hurt him. My fight with Roy was
No. You got to do the voice.
Oh, I would hurt him. My fight with Roy was an exhibition.
There you go.
I can't do it.
Yes, that was
pretty
funny.
good, actually.
That was good.
If I hit Roy, I could have in the face. He would have been done, and all the money made from the fight on my end went to charity. Actually, Mike Tyson, he said, so the real Mike Tyson is here. He says, I'm 55, guys.
Okay.
I'm 55, guys.
Well,
Okay, so
if
he's
he sends a
55.
$500 super chat, I would believe that's the real Mike Tyson.
Are you really Mike Tyson?
What if it is? What if it really was? And
What if
he
what if
throws
he's in
everyone
there-
off by doing that.
Yeah, he throws everybody off by trying to do that, thinking it's like some clever screen name, but it really is him. Thinking like almost like like it, it's right in front of your face type of thing.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty smart.
Yeah.
Just for entertainment, I go on YouTube sometimes and just watch highlights of Mike Tyson interviews. It's phenomenal, especially when a journalist or so-called journalist, I don't think a real journalist exists anymore, but or someone interviewing him will be a total dick and try to bring up, his past and those that I think are kind of faux rape charges against him, but still they try to bring that up and throw it in his face, and Mike just lets him have it. He doesn't even care,
Yeah, that one interview was great. He's cursing and stuff, and he's like, Mike, we're on live TV. He goes, what are you gonna do about it?
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
You know how many people would love to say that to a journalist or a TV person, and Mike just literally can say, what are you gonna do about it, and what are they gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing. And he's Mike Tyson, so it doesn't matter. He can't be canceled. You can't cancel Mike Tyson. So, it's entertaining, man. It's good stuff. But, yeah, I mean, do you guys remember playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember how hard that game was, Jason, when we were kids?
Yeah, I always wanted to be Glass Joe. I thought he was the toughest guy on the whole thing.
Glass Joe?
Yeah, that was the first guy, right? That's funny. And you had to start over every time, and then eventually I think I beat Tyson, but it was like you'd have to start the game over every time if you lost. It was a long process. That was a good one, though.
I could never beat Mike. I
Okay,
could
how
get
about
to
this,
Mike,
guys?
but I couldn't beat him.
Mike Tyson versus Francis Ngannou.
Okay,
Oh,
now that's
we got a good
different.
one Now.
Yeah, that's
Now
different.
we're talking. Francis is like 6'4", 6'5", 2 whatever, and he hits hard. He's got a long reach around 81, 82, 83 inches or something like that. Now what happens?
We have a $5 super chat from Nefertiti. Oh, thank you, Milena. She says, $5 toward the 100, you guys. Oh, damn. We have another super chat. We have a $100 super chat from Angel Iliev. Thank you so much, Angel. You've already sent $10. Dang.
Wow.
That actually puts us over 100, so we're at 115. Let's go,
Are
Mike.
you
Big
real
Mike.
Mike Tyson?
Let's go, Mike. And Angel Iliev, thank you, dude. That's awesome.
Angel's calling his bluff.
Angel just put his money where his mouth is.
Angel put his money where his mouth is.
Let's go, Big Mike.
Actually, Angel put his money where Mike's mouth is. Oh, no. Here we go. Angel Iliev, that deserves a VonAllen Sports. Let's go!
Let's go! Woo! Actually, I didn't say VonAllen Sports, but actually, I'll do it.
Mental MMA on VonAllen Sports. That's what it is.
Yeah. VonAllen MMA. Let's go! Woo! The Ric Flair. Woo!
So, Angel, what would be
Actually,
your
Mike
dream,
Tyson.
What would be your dream, Angel? What would be your dream MMA matchup, regardless of weight class, regardless of era? It could be anyone from any time era. Your dream matchup of all time. What would it be?
While we're
It's not
waiting,
taking-
can I answer? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of mine.
You mean answer? Okay, go for it.
I mean, we should. That's a great question.
It is a good question.
So I think we all should do that.
Yeah.
But
My dream MMA matchup would have been Anderson Silva and John Jones in 2012.
I was thinking back, when Anderson Silva was back then in his prime, and GSP, that would have been a good one. They never could make that fight. I always wanted to see that one. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I think Silva would have won, but I wanted to see it.
GSP wouldn't go for it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Anderson Silva from 2008 versus John Jones from 2012. 2013 John Jones versus 2008 Anderson Silva. That
Yep.
would be my dream matchup.
My dream matchup would be Demetrius Johnson versus Amanda Nunez.
You think?
Because I want to see him get his ass kicked by a girl.
You know who wins that fight, right?
Amanda.
No, DJ wins that fight, man. So he does, seriously. He will. Okay, so here we go. Speedy 1287 says, I know this is said all the time, but GSP versus Khabib at 165, both in their primes. Even though that seems like a simple one, that's a really good one. I see GSP winning that. Yeah, that's a good one. The weight class is good. Yeah, that's a good one. People talk about that. But I don't think Khabib really wanted that fight. I think GSP wanted it. I don't think Khabib did.
Thomas Allen said, I heard Mike had the hardest punch in boxing history. I remember hearing that when I was a kid, too. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that as well.
They played that little machine where you punch the thing and it measures your pounds per square inch.
They say that about Francis as far as UFC, that he has the hardest punch.
Oh, yeah, Francis the escort in Gano.
Yep.
Oh, seriously, though.
Actually, Mike Tyson, where are you at, brother?
Seriously. Jason, I think your matchup can't be beat. I think Prime Silva versus Prime Jones. At light heavyweight or at middleweight? Does John come down or does Anderson go up?
John can't. John was a kid and he still couldn't make middleweight. It had to be light heavyweight.
He would have to starve himself to death.
Yeah, and remember with Anderson Silva going up to light heavyweight, he becomes a little stronger too. So he'll have a little more pop in his punches and kicks and elbows and whatever else he wants to use.
And
we got a good one here from Russell Curry. Kayla Harrison versus the Lioness right effing now. I agree completely. I think Kayla is the biggest challenge to Amanda Nunez right now. I think we need that. We need Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunez. That's what we need right now. I agree 100%. And I'm not so sure Amanda would want that fight. You know, they train together.
Really?
They train together at American Top Team, and I think they know what each other's capable of doing. You never, ever hear Amanda mention her name. Ever. Yeah, that's a good one. And it wouldn't surprise me if Kayla beat her at all. Kayla's vicious, man. Actually, Mike Tyson, where you at, man? Angel ran him off.
Come on, Big Mike.
Tyson. Come on, Iron Mike, where you at, man? Oh, the Klitschko brothers. Well, obviously, Vladimir would probably win that. I mean, he was the big champ out of the two. I mean, just in my mind.
Vitali was a badass, too. Yeah.
Do you remember that time when Vladimir Klitschko got spit in the face by, who did that? Someone spit water in his face, and he just kind of didn't do anything. Who was that?
He didn't do anything? Wow.
Yeah. Well, he was cornering his brother, I think.
Okay.
Or someone else, maybe. I thought he might have been cornering his brother, but they were in the center of the cage, and he got like someone spit water right in his face from their water bottle or something. I forget who it was.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do anything about it.
Like remember Bisping did that once when he was pissed. He won that fight, and then he spit in the guy's corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I think the grossest MMA moment I've ever seen was when the skyscraper,
Stephen Stroud,
Stephen Stroud,
however you say,
took out his bloody mouthpiece and threw it in the crowd. It was
some random person got probably hit with that bloody
A
thing.
lot of people got hit with
Yeah.
it probably because it was just spit and blood flying through the
Oh,
air.
yeah.
I would have sued his ass.
Yeah, that was nasty.
That is so disgusting.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget BJ Penn's blood licking of his gloves. Remember that?
Yes. Oh yeah.
He would lick his. Remember when he beat Joe Daddy Stevenson? He cut him up real bad, and that's the bloodiest fight of all time. If you guys want to see the bloodiest MMA fight of all time, check out BJ Penn versus Joe Daddy Stevenson. There is
Okay.
not a bloodier fight you will ever find than that. After it was over with, BJ's gloves are completely covered in Joe's blood, and BJ goes
Oh man.
to his gloves. It was all over his tongue and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a good comment on here. It is let me see here. What do we got? Oh, it must be gone. Oh, here we go. Speedy 1287 says, "What about Prime Connor versus Prime Cruz at 145?" I'm assuming he's talking about Dominic Cruz. Always thought that fight would be interesting. Connor would destroy Dominic Cruz, completely destroy him. He would destroy him basically about the same way that he did Eddie Alvarez. I mean, Dominic would probably be a little harder to hit, but once he connected, he'd be too much.
Yeah. What weight
Yeah, it
was
just-
Cruz fighting at?
He's always been at 135,
Okay.
but Connor at 145, that's the lowest Connor could have gone. But Cruz could go up to 145 and fight him if they were to do that. But yeah, no, that would be an easy win for Connor.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
I don't think Connor could make 140, 145 anymore. That
No,
was
no,
hard
no.
for him to make that weight, huh?
So yeah, Speed 1287 also says Prime Tony versus Khabib. I'm so upset we never saw that. I know Khabib most likely wins, but still would have become cool to see. Okay, here's my thoughts on that. That fight that never happened bugged me as well. They were set to fight so many times,
Yep.
and Mr. Tiramisu had to ruin it. And then the next time he had to go to the hospital, and it's like always something. Khabib never should have even been at lightweight. He should have been at welterweight, but he was too short for it. But I believe that if they had fought the first 2 times they were supposed to fight, I think at that time, just the way their careers were and the experience and their styles and momentum, I think Tony would have won the first time if 1 or 2 times they fought. Toward the end, when they were getting matched up and when like they were going to match up for the last time or 2 they're supposed to fight, I think Khabib probably would have won, and Khabib would win from here on out. But I think before, Tony would have won if it would have been early on.
Tony was on that tear. He was just like ripping up everybody at that point.
Yeah. Remember, Tony's got a ground game. People don't understand it because so
Yeah.
when Khabib is down there trying to smish him, I think Tony throws in a slick submission at that time.
Yep.
Back then.
Check out what Jalen said.
SM Down H9 says Tyson Fury versus Ali in their primes. I don't think Tyson Fury gets the credit for his skills because he's got a bad physique and he's a little bit slow, but he's got good skills. Like he's a smart boxer, and I think that had he connected with Ali a few good times, I think that he could have rattled him up. But at the same time, Ali would have been hard to hit. Ali's really hard to hit and get a hold of.
Yep.
So that just would have been a good fight. But I don't think Ali would have knocked him out or anything. I think it would have been a decision if Ali would have won. But that would have been a good fight.
I honestly, I think Ali takes that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about that, though.
What
Tyson
about
doesn't take
Tyson?
boxing seriously enough.
What about Mike Tyson versus Tyson Fury in Mike Tyson's prime?
Mike Tyson versus Tyson
Mike
Fury?
Tyson wins.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure about that because Tyson Fury's got skills, man. He's got real boxing skills. I'm not talking about he's the fastest, hardest puncher or whatever, but he's got boxing skills. It's they call it the sweet science for a reason because there's a science to it. There's a certain thing it goes about, and Tyson Fury has that naturally. Think about it. He can get addicted to drugs and alcohol. He can get overweight. He can lay off and quit, and then he can just pick it right back up like that because he's got
undefeated,
the aptitude
right?
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's undefeated still. It's crazy.
I wouldn't bet on anyone to beat Tyson Fury at any point in time in any era because he could possibly beat anybody. I mean, he's almost 7 feet tall. That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
Reach
Yeah,
alone.
it's just my problem is I just saw. Oh, I've seen Wilder several times almost take him out.
Oh, Wilder's no slouch either.
I know, but we're talking about Mike Tyson in his prime. We're talking about Muhammad Ali in his prime. That's a different animal altogether. And it seems like Tyson Fury doesn't take boxing seriously enough to beat those two. I don't know. I wish Tyson took boxing seriously.
Well, let's forget about this. Let's forget about how they treat their training camp. Let's go by what their capabilities are. Like, what would happen if Tyson committed himself to being the best ever, and that was his life's goal? That's
well,
I think
that's
the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just an outside interference. He could change that tomorrow. You can't just change your power tomorrow, or your speed tomorrow, or your mind. But you can just change your discipline like that.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. Because we'd say, well, he doesn't take it seriously. Okay, well, let's say, if they fought and Tyson Fury took it seriously. That's just one thing that can be a simple change if you wanted to do that. But
I can comment on something that we've done in the NFL. Okay, so on my other show, when we talk about quarterbacks, greatest of all time, or if you take a quarterback from now and send them in a time machine to the past, what would Tom Brady do to a defense in the 1970s? He would absolutely destroy it. Okay? He's seen defenses that hadn't been invented yet to the 1970s defenses, right? So they would be like child's play for him out there. They can hit him harder and all that, but they won't even get to him before he gets rid of the ball, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be unfair. But at the same time, Tom Brady also has the knowledge of those decades. So if you transported Tyson, or you don't have to transport him, if we put Tyson Fury up against Muhammad Ali, Fury has all those decades of knowledge and tools of the trade and the tricks and all that stuff that he learned from guys like Ali and Mike Tyson. So we'd also have to take that in consideration.
I just wonder how much that would factor in with boxing in particular. I get it with the NFL because that's really progressed with the technical end.
Well,
of it.
that's what I'm wondering. It might.
Boxing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
So it's interesting, right?
It is interesting. Now you talk about MMA, it definitely makes a difference now to even 5 years ago because it's a new sport. But has boxing changed that much in the last 30, 40 years? I don't know. I'm not sure.
So Shane Ashley says at Vaughn, that's not true at all. As much as he looks like he doesn't care, he does take it serious. I think Tyson does take it seriously. He kind of has to. I mean, look at his skills. He's very skilled, and he can't just do that by laying on the couch and not caring about it, But I think you guys might be misconnected on the fact that I think what Aaron means is that he doesn't think Tyson Fury trains to his abilities.
Right. I'm not going to the extreme and saying he doesn't care. I'm just saying that, if he treated boxing the way Brady treated playing quarterback, then we're talking, But it's almost a compliment to Tyson Fury, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because the guy's undefeated, and I don't think that he actually has committed every single thing he could to boxing.
Well, Jones wasn't either in his, all those years of all those wins on all those title defenses. They supposedly wasn't even training for a lot of those fights barely.
Oh yeah, John Jones wasn't even training. In fact, he was getting drunk and doing cocaine binges the week of the fight.
The week of the fight, yeah. So I think early in his career he probably wasn't doing that. He was more serious, and then he got into that party mode. And probably now it seems like he's more serious with all the bulking up to heavyweight.
Hey, Pussy, you still there?
So Russell Curry says the lineal champ. That's right. And you know who is not a lineal champ? Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is not a lineal champ. So anyway, we got a football thing going on here. SM Down H9 says, I think the steel curtain of the 70s would give Brady problems.
No. They couldn't get to him. He'd get rid of the ball before. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. Basically, the only way to make that fair is to take Tom Brady's knowledge away from him, but that you can't do that really. So how would you only give him the knowledge of what was up to the 1970s? Then yeah, that's different. But that's the hard thing about taking someone from the present to the past is they've got all that accumulation of, seeing all these new things and these different things, these different techniques. So yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's too big of a gap. Too big of an advancement in football for that.
Actually, Mike Tyson, where you at? Ariel
Mike
called
Tyson
you
left.
out.
Mike Tyson went out.
Ariel called you out.
It's all right, man. You don't have to send $500, okay? But you can stay and chat with us, though. That was cool that you did that.
He said he did.
But Angel, thank you so much, man. Again, you spent $110 tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's,
Angel's the real deal.
yeah,
Angel's an
it's
angel.
awesome.
The real deal. Angel, the real deal, Holyfield.
Yeah, so Shane, don't misunderstand me. I actually am a fan of Tyson Fury. It's just but like Roman was saying, that was a good point too about John Jones. If you remember, John Jones was telling DC, he goes, "Man, I beat you when I was on cocaine.
Yeah.
I was partying every weekend. I was, well, although cocaine, Lawrence Taylor was on cocaine most of the time he was playing too. I mean, what's bad? A Lawrence Taylor coming at you or a coked up Lawrence Taylor coming at you? I mean, that's just awful. I would rather him not be on coke. So, just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that John Jones and Silva in their primes would have been a great matchup.
I agree. I'm taking that too. I agree.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
And I also like the one he mentioned, the one everybody has talked about a lot, the 165 Pierre Khabib fight. Of course, they were talking about that about 9 months ago. Even they're still talking about that. Khabib wasn't having it, so Khabib could have easily done that, but he wouldn't do it.
I'm just going to read this. Odson Mate says, "What about bringing fighters and football players from the past to the present? Who's to say they couldn't learn modern tactics? Not to mention, they also have the luxury of modern medicine and training. If that was the case, and you brought some people from the past and they were up to speed on everything, then now it's even playing field." So,
but that
absolutely
that changes things.
But exactly. But absolutely, I mean, I know a lot of guys, both fighters and football players, that if you take them from the past and put them into now with everything, and they're up to speed on everything. And physically as well. That's scary. That's a scary thought. So, absolutely.
That's why I think Bruce Lee would have been a great MMA fighter had he been trained in MMA.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's his mental too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Thomas Allen, he mentioned earlier, he said Chuck Norris. And then Nefertiti said Bruce Lee.
They both would have been great MMA fighters.
Okay. First of all, you guys tell me, what weight classes would they fight in, and who would have the better MMA career?
Yeah, Bruce Lee was tiny, huh? What was his weight? I don't know.
Bruce Lee walked around 130, so he would have cut easily to 125. So he would have been a flyweight, and he would have been a tall flyweight because he was 5'7", which is tall for the flyweight division.
Yeah.
So he would have fought flyweight. Chuck walked around. I think he competed in karate around 170, maybe 165, between 160 and 170, and he probably would have fought lightweight at 155, I think, with weight cut. So they would have been in two different divisions. Probably, yeah.
And who would have the better career?
I don't know, because it depends on how they were trained and what their strengths were. If they were to fight today and be trained today with today's gyms, like they just were to walk in like AKA or Jackson Wink or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They both have they're both mentally there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be who they are.
Right.
They're both who they are because they got it in their head. They're competitors. They're smart. They're philosophical. They're They're tough. They're everything about them. This is what they are. You know, they get the fighter mentality. It's just who they are. So I don't think either one of them has an advantage over the other as far as that goes. As far as training discipline, you can't get any more discipline than Bruce. The guy was nuts. He was insane. I mean, the stuff he did. He literally killed himself in training. I mean, so yeah, I think he would have trained a little harder than Chuck probably, but I don't know. I think it just depends on what route they would have went. You know, like
What do you think,
you
Roman?
can't really say.
As far
They
as which
definitely
one
wouldn't
would have had a better career,
They wouldn't have fought each other.
Bruce,
That's for sure.
yeah, they wouldn't. But I think Bruce Lee would have been something else. You know, with some of the things he did back in the day. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a video of him playing ping pong with nunchucks against some crazy ping pong player. It was pretty nutty, you know.
Oh, that's fake, man.
Is that fake?
Yeah, that's not real.
Is that fake? I was wondering. I'm like, I've never seen this before. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Get it.
What is real is that Bruce Lee used to do on each arm 70. That's 70. One-armed pull-ups, chin-ups. Like
That's
this right
crazy.
here,
Yeah.
on each arm. Try to do that with two arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
He do it with one arm. He also, when he was on the Green Hornet TV show, I forgot the name of the guy who played the Green Hornet, but he was a big guy who was also a workout guy too, kind of in shape. And he had this metal bar, and they tried to see who could bend it, and Bruce could bend it, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
He was the only one to bend it. And then they also Bruce would actually also run the Hollywood Hills with his dogs, and he had some dogs. You know how dogs are known for their endurance, right? They can just run for miles, right? His dogs would give up before Bruce would running the hills of Beverly Hills.
That's what I
His
mean.
dogs would give up
That's some
first.
crazy stuff he did. So imagine now with today's training, what would have been possible in competition. You know.
When Bruce died, the doctor that examined him said that he had the most perfect physique and health of any person he had ever done an autopsy on or ever done a physical on or anyone. He said it was unbelievable. It's almost like he wasn't even real. Like everything was just absolutely perfect.
Wow.
Well, let's end this on a high note, guys.
Yeah.
We've been going for an hour and a half now, so I don't think Mike's coming back. But I just want to say real quick, though, that Bruce Lee would have the better career only because that weight class that Mighty Mouse dominated is so pathetic and so ridiculous and shouldn't even be a weight class at all. I don't even know why they have it. I mean, I'd rather see pigeons fighting, but Bruce would dominate that so easily. It would just be ridiculous. It would just be.
It is true. And Chuck
would face
Chuck
more
Norris,
competition, so it'd be harder for him to dominate. The
lightweight, the 155 division has always been one of the tougher divisions for a long time now. So yeah, Chuck definitely would have faced a tougher division. So I agree with that for sure. So Chuck would have the hardest time, with it.
Cool.
So we'll be back. Our next show Saturday, December 11th for UFC 269.
Yeah, pay-per-view UFC 269. That's going to be a great fight. I think we have 2 title fights on there. We got Amanda Nunez and Juliana Pena for one of the title fights, and the other one is going to be a Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title. And then what's that third fight down that was going to be really good?
Third fight is Leon Edwards, Jorge
There you
Masvidal.
go. Leon Edwards and Masvidal. That's going to be a great fight too.
Dude, everything. We got the Colby Garbrandt fight. We got the Sean O'Malley fight. That's a good card.
Yeah, it is. That is a good card. And I haven't looked at the prelims yet, but I'm sure they'll be good. Prelims are always good. I'm an early prelim guy. I like watching them all. So, but yeah, we'll be here for the pre-show, and then we'll be here for the post-show. And are we going to try to call the main card play-by-play, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think we'd be better set up for it.
Okay.
Next
We'll see if we can get that. Maybe we'll get some opinions on that between now and then.
Sounds good.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome.
Angel, welcome aboard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys so much.
I'm not sure if it's a sir or ma'am, but
flag on the play if you're not subscribed to VonAllen Sports. But once you are, we'll make it up to your team in the fourth quarter. You're watching an honest NFL analysis. Subscribe now and join the empire. VonAllen Sports, let's go.
VonAllen Sports.